My mom claimed she just wanted me to be happy, but somehow that meant canceling my wedding vendors behind my back, trashing my fiancé to anyone who'd listen, and playing victim when I finally had enough. So I planned a wedding she couldn't ruin and didn't attend. I'm Jason, 30, and apparently I committed the cardinal sin of getting engaged without letting my mom run the entire damn process. She's the kind of person who thinks boundaries are insults and opinions are orders. My fiancée, Emily, is the only reason I stayed sane. Barely. And this is how our wedding became a battlefield. You'd think getting engaged would be the start of something beautiful. For me, it was the start of getting steamrolled. The moment Emily and I announced it, my mom whipped out a stack of Pinterest boards like she was auditioning for a job no one offered her. "Oh, you'll love this rustic vineyard theme," she said, already emailing venues before we even picked a date. At first, I laughed it off. Classic mom, right? She's always been intense. But things escalated faster than I could blink. She started calling Emily every other day with ideas that sounded more like commands. Lace over satin. Garden ceremony instead of beach. No red anywhere, because it's too aggressive for a wedding. I didn't even know colors could offend her until then. Emily tried to be nice about it. At first, she smiled, nodded, thanked her, then cried in our apartment after every call. "I just want this to feel like ours," she told me one night, mascara halfway down her face. I told her I'd talk to my mom, which, in hindsight, was about as effective as asking a shark to please chill out around blood. I sat down with mom at her kitchen table, thinking maybe a heart-to-heart would help. What I got was a full-blown guilt trip. "I'm just trying to make your life easier," she said. "You think I don't want what's best for you?" "For her," she said, her like Emily was some random stranger crashing Thanksgiving dinner. Then she hit me with the closer. "You wouldn't even have a wedding if it weren't for me." As if she personally invented marriage. That was the first time I realized she wasn't just being helpful. She was trying to own the wedding. Like it was a family heirloom I was too stupid to handle on my own. And the worst part? She was subtle about it. Never yelled. Never stormed off. She just used guilt like a weapon and smiled while she twisted the knife. The final straw in Arc 1 came at a brunch. Emily, my parents, and Aunt Cheryl were all there. Mom casually announced, in front of everyone, that she'd already ordered centerpieces just to save time. Emily froze. I stared at my plate and wondered if I was allowed to fake a seizure to escape. After brunch, Emily lost it in the car. Is she even going to let me walk down the aisle, or does she have someone picked out to do it for me? That's when it hit me. This wasn't about helping. It wasn't about love. My mom saw this wedding as her second shot at something. Control? Attention? Glory? All of the above. And she was willing to bulldoze everything in her way, including my actual relationship, to get it. So yeah, I tried to mediate like an idiot. I tried telling mom to back off gently. I told Emily to hang in there. I played middleman, therapist, referee, and every time, I ended up disappointing someone. Usually Emily. And even more usually myself. That's how we got to the edge of a fight we weren't sure we'd recover from. All because my mom couldn't let go of the fantasy that her version of my life was the right one. And I was still dumb enough to think I could balance it all without dropping someone I loved. After the centerpiece ambush, Emily and I decided to take back a little control. We met with a few new vendors, locked in some dates, and even booked a venue my mom hadn't sniffed out yet. For 5 minutes, we thought things were turning around. Then the cancellation started. It began with the florist. One day she was confirming peony options. The next she was unavailable due to a scheduling conflict. Then it was the caterer, who suddenly couldn't accommodate our guest count, which, by the way, hadn't changed. A week later, the DJ dropped out with some vague excuse about booking errors. That one hurt. He was a friend of a friend, someone we actually liked. He even played our engagement party. By the time the fourth vendor ghosted us, Emily looked like she was 5 seconds away from lighting our entire wedding binder on fire. I tried to stay calm. Maybe it was just bad luck? The economy? Mercury in retrograde? I called the DJ personally to see what was up. That's when I got the truth. He apologized, profusely, and said my mom had called him multiple times, told him the wedding was postponed, told him we were reconsidering things and didn't want to waste his time. Same script with the caterer. Same with the florist. She hadn't just meddled. She was actively nuking the whole thing behind our backs. I wish I could say I handled it well. I did not. I drove straight to her house, sat down in her living room, and asked point blank, "Did you cancel our vendors?" Her face did this weird, twitchy thing, like she was deciding whether to lie or cry. She chose both. "I was just trying to help," she said, voice trembling like she was the victim in a courtroom drama. "You two seemed overwhelmed. I thought maybe if you had some space." "Some space? By canceling our entire wedding?" Then came the gaslighting. "You didn't seem sure about the venue," she said. "Emily was crying all the time. I thought maybe you were having doubts." "Right. My doubts. That's why she called the florist pretending to be me and told them to take a hike." Totally tracks. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. But I did something that finally shut her up. I stood up and said, "If you sabotage one more thing, you're not coming." And I meant it. I didn't say it for drama. I said it because Emily was this close to calling off the whole thing, and I wasn't going to lose her over my mom's need to play puppet master. Of course, that didn't go over well. The next week, I got a string of texts from Aunt Cheryl about how I was being too harsh and that mothers just want to feel included. Yeah, well, some mothers also want to control your entire existence and pretend it's love. Emily, meanwhile, was spiraling. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't focus. Planning the wedding had gone from joyful to toxic in a matter of weeks. One night she asked, "Are we even going to have a wedding?" And I realized, for the first time, that she was seriously considering bailing, not from me, but from the nightmare this had become. That was my wake-up call. I could either keep pretending we could fix this through polite boundaries and family meetings, or I could start planning a wedding that was actually ours. Quietly, without the sabotage, without the drama, without her. I didn't say anything to my mom after that. No warnings. No more sit-downs. Just quiet detachment. The kind that tells someone they've officially lost access without needing a single word. The vendor massacre wasn't the end of our wedding. It was the start of the real one. Emily and I went full spy mode after that. New email accounts. New vendor contacts. Phone calls only on speaker when we were both present. If my mom wanted to play puppet master, fine, but the strings were getting cut. Quietly. One by one. First thing we did was scrap the original venue. It was too tainted. Plus, it was only 20 minutes from my mom's house, and I wouldn't put it past her to accidentally show up with a gift basket and a passive-aggressive speech. Instead, we found this gorgeous outdoor space, kind of a hidden garden attached to a boutique winery about 2 hours out. No family ties. No public listings. They didn't even post photos on social media unless couples approved it first. It was perfect. We rebooked the florist, different one, obviously, the DJ, a college friend from Emily's side who owed her a favor, and a new caterer who operated by direct referrals only. Every person involved had one rule: don't talk to anyone but us. If someone claiming to be our parent or planner called, immediate hang up. While Emily handled the creative stuff, colors, flowers, food, I played diplomat at home, smiled through Sunday dinners, nodded at my mom's fake concerned comments like, "Have you two set a new date yet?" Or, "Let me know when you're ready to really start planning." She was testing the waters, fishing for info. I gave her absolutely nothing. It got easier once she started shifting her campaign elsewhere, namely, my relatives. Aunt Cheryl, Cousin Carla, even my dad got roped into her martyr act. "Jason and Emily don't want help," she'd say. "They think I'm too much." Can you believe that? It was always followed by a sigh and a dramatic sip of wine, like she was living in some Hallmark tragedy. But what she didn't realize was that the more she played the victim, the more people started backing off. No one said it out loud, but you could feel it at family gatherings. Less eye contact, less sympathy. People were starting to catch on. Then I found the texts. I wasn't snooping. Seriously, I was helping Dad set up a new phone after his old one crapped out, and he asked me to transfer his stuff over. That's when I saw a chain of messages from Mom to Aunt Cheryl, and let me tell you, I genuinely almost laughed out loud. She wasn't just sabotaging the wedding. She was actively trying to break us up. One gem. I think if Emily's family really knew what she was like, they'd be concerned too. Another. Jason's too loyal. He needs to see what kind of person she is before it's too late. And my personal favorite. If they don't make it to the wedding, at least he'll thank me one day. I didn't even feel rage anymore. It was just pathetic. Like, wow, you're really texting your sister about how to destroy your son's relationship and somehow still think you're the good guy? I showed Emily. She didn't cry. She just stared at the screen for a full 30 seconds and then said, "We're not telling her anything ever again." And that was it. The line had been drawn. From that point on, the wedding planning became fun again. Secretive? Yes. Stressful? A bit. But it was ours. We met with vendors in cafes an hour away from home. We used code names when referring to the venue in public. We even created a fake calendar with dummy appointments, in case my mom ever snooped around. I'm not proud of how paranoid we got, but also, I kind of am. Emily's friends were the real MVPs. Her best friend Nina basically ran interference anytime someone from my family tried to get information. She fielded calls, redirected questions, and kept up the illusion that the wedding was still on hold. Meanwhile, we were sending out new invites, digitally, privately, and only to the people who had earned the right to be there. You'd think it would hurt, cutting out my own mother from something this big. But honestly, it felt like breathing fresh air after weeks of suffocation. I wasn't slamming a door shut. I was walking out of one she'd been slamming on me since the day I got engaged. By the time the new date rolled around, everything was locked, loaded, and completely under wraps. Not a peep on social media. No public mentions. Just a calendar alert that popped up one Saturday morning, quietly marking the best day of my life. And not a single seat saved for her. If I could bottle the feeling of waking up on my actual wedding day knowing my mom had no clue it was happening, I'd sell it for a fortune. Imagine the relief of knowing there would be no interruptions, no side eyes during vows, no passive-aggressive commentary on flower arrangements. Just peace. And Emily. We got ready at the venue. The sun was already warming up the stone courtyard, the grapevines just starting to hit that soft golden hue. It looked like something out of a wedding catalog, but without the fake smiles and budget stress. Just 27 people, all handpicked, all knowing exactly why they were there, and who wasn't. I didn't have to fake smile through a morning brunch with my mom criticizing my tie. I didn't have to listen to her whisper complaints about Emily's dress. Hell, I didn't even have to pretend we were still on speaking terms. For the first time in months, I actually felt excited about getting married. Emily looked stunning. Not just bridal pretty, either. She looked like herself, only more radiant. We didn't do a big procession or any dramatic entrance. No string quartet, no chair covers tied in matching satin bows. We said our vows under an old tree wrapped in twinkle lights, with a breeze so gentle it actually made people tear up like they were in a damn rom-com. Only it was real. All of it. When we kissed, people clapped like they actually meant it. No forced clapping from my mom's friends who would have rather been sipping mimosas at some country club brunch. Just cheers, real smiles, and Nina yelling finally from the second row. Then came the photos. Our friend Brian, who, by the way, moonlights as an influencer and does photo work for brands, offered to shoot the whole thing as a gift. Dude delivered. The shots looked like something from an indie wedding blog that charges $8,000 just to list your name. Dramatic angles, sun flares, candid laughing shots that didn't look fake. He uploaded a sneak peek montage that night, tagged us, and within hours it blew up. Apparently, people love secret weddings with a backstory. And though we didn't post the whole saga online, people picked up on the vibe. The lack of older relatives. The tight-knit guest list. The joy. And that's when Mom found out. I got the first text at 6:43 a.m. the next day. Mom, what is this? You got married without telling me? I didn't respond. At 7:12 a.m. Please tell me this is a joke. At 8:02 a.m. Your father is devastated. He wasn't. By 9:30, the call started. Voicemail after voicemail. Alternating between crying, guilt-tripping, and blaming Emily for turning you against your family. You know, classic greatest hits. She even tried reaching out to Emily's mom, who promptly blocked her. Later that day, I saw the real show unfold on Facebook. She made a post, something like, "It's a sad day when your only son decides you're not worthy of attending his wedding." Cue the pity parade. Some relatives rushed in with the usual. "That's awful. So sorry. How could they do that?" But others, Aunt Cheryl included, didn't comment. And a few even messaged me privately to say they saw it coming. That's the part no one tells you about when you finally draw a line in the sand with toxic family. Some people will follow you across it. Quietly, maybe. But they'll come. Dad reached out too, but not to yell. Just confusion. "She told me you postponed it," he said. "I didn't know you still planned it." I told him, flat out. "Yeah, because we didn't trust her not to ruin it." He went quiet, then said, "I get it. Emily and I spent the rest of the weekend doing normal newlywed things. Brunch, walking around town, drinking wine that was way too expensive just because we could. Meanwhile, my mom spent it spinning her own version of events to anyone who would listen. But no one really bought it. Because the photos said everything. We looked happy, relaxed, free. And you know what doesn't scream? Evil manipulative bride. A woman smiling like she's finally not walking on eggshells. She tried to weaponize the fact that she wasn't invited, told people we were heartless, immature, brainwashed. But what she really hated was that we didn't need her, that her sabotage attempts didn't work, that her son grew a spine and chose peace over guilt. The day after we got home, I posted one photo. Just one. It was Emily and me laughing mid-toast, surrounded by friends and fairy lights. Caption: best day ever. That was it. No tags. No explanations. But everyone knew exactly what it meant. And if you're wondering whether my mom called again after that, yeah, she did. Every damn day for a week. I still didn't answer. After the wedding, things changed in the family. Well, kind of. My mom went full-on drama queen, spinning a story where I was the bad guy who cut her out and threw away family. Suddenly, I was the villain for standing up to her sabotage and finally taking control of my own life. She started calling everyone she knew, playing the victim like it was her job, telling them I abandoned my family. Aunt Cheryl, who always acted like she was Switzerland, suddenly had an opinion that aligned suspiciously with Mom's sob story. At first, I thought maybe people would see through it. But no. Some did, some didn't. Some were too polite to call her out, others didn't care enough. Dad even got sucked into it. He called me one evening, voice hesitant, saying, "Jason, your mother's heart is broken. You need to fix this before it gets worse." I bit my tongue but said, "Dad, she's been breaking us for months. I'm done fixing something that's not broken on my side." There was silence, and then, "I just want you to be happy." "Yeah, thanks for that." Aunt Cheryl invited me over for a family talk, which was code for a guilt trip session with wine on her side and passive-aggressive comments on mine. She said things like, "Family sticks together, even when it's hard. And sometimes you have to swallow your pride." I thought about telling her to swallow a cactus, but I held back. I wanted to keep the peace, but she wasn't interested in peace. She wanted submission. At those dinners, the subject of Mom's absence was brought up like I'd done the unforgivable. She was really hurt she wasn't invited, Cheryl said, eyes watery. "You have to think about her feelings." I wanted to scream, "Her feelings?" She sabotaged my wedding, canceled my vendors, and tried to break us up. But the room wasn't ready for that kind of honesty. So I bit back the fury and let it slide, quietly resenting everyone who acted like the victim was me. Emily was my rock through all of this. She refused to let the guilt drag us down. "They're stuck in their own drama," she said. "Let's not get caught in the mess." That made sense, but still it hurt. I kept wondering how the people who claimed to love me could side with the one who tried to ruin the happiest day of my life. I kept replaying the moments Mom canceled vendors, gaslit me, and called Emily names behind my back. The betrayal was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, I reached a breaking point. At a family gathering, Aunt Cheryl tried to bring up the topic of forgiveness again, pushing me to just move past it because life's too short. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You know what? I don't owe anyone forgiveness for trying to wreck my life. My mom tried to sabotage my wedding and break my relationship. That's not something you just move past. That's something you own up to." And none of that happened. The room went quiet. It was the first time anyone heard my side loud and clear. That night, I sent a group message to family members who'd been on the fence. I laid out what happened: Mom's sabotage, the vendor cancellations, the text scheming against Emily and me. No sugarcoating. No excuses. Just facts. Some replied with shock and silence. Others didn't reply at all. But it felt good to finally clear the air. What surprised me most was the shift that happened after that. People who had stayed quiet started coming around. Not all, but some. My dad sent me a text. "Thanks for telling me the truth. I didn't realize how bad it was." Aunt Cheryl messaged, "I was wrong to downplay it. I'm sorry." Even some distant relatives who I thought didn't care called to check in. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Meanwhile, Mom continued to spin her own tale, painting herself as the hurt mother abandoned by her ungrateful son. She called me a few times, begging to make things right, but I kept it brief. "I'm done," I told her once. You had your chance. You lost it. No begging, no tears. Just a firm line I wasn't going to cross again. I found peace in the chaos by building my own family around Emily, our friends, and the people who supported us from day one. The wedding wasn't just an event. It was a declaration that I was done being controlled and done apologizing for wanting a life free from manipulation. Looking back, I don't regret cutting Mom out of the wedding. It wasn't about revenge. It was about self-respect, about choosing happiness over toxic family drama, about finally standing up and saying, no more. And honestly, that feels like winning. In the end, cutting her out wasn't just about the wedding. It was about drawing a line that said, this far, no further. I finally chose peace over chaos, and for once, I got to have a day that was truly mine. Sometimes, self-respect means leaving behind those who claim to love you, but only know control.